With the power to bring people together or just help us escape the world, gaming is more than just a game. So join me, ziggychris, as I speak to developers, content creators, and gamers like you and me to discover how each of us was saved by gaming. Welcome in everyone to this first ever episode of the Saved by Gaming podcast. I am ziggychris. I'm going to be the host through this venture, and this is really my passion project. And for this first ever episode, I wanted to take a moment, just solo between you and me, to discuss what this is about, why we're here, what are we even doing, what's the point of Saved by Gaming, and why is it called that? And so basically, over the course of this podcast, we're going to be chatting to people about the power of games, from tabletop to computer games, and the ability to connect people, the therapeutic pleasure they can give to people in finding confidence or connecting to their true self, whatever it is. There's so many different ways that games are impacting people nowadays, and that's what we are going to focus on. Now, the reason I came up with this concept, and I'm the one doing this podcast, is that I feel that I was saved by gaming, or the gaming community, at one point in my life. I have always been a gamer through thick and thin, starting with a Spectrum way back in the 80s, and that just goes a little glimpse into my age there. But rather than me kind of babble on a ramble about where this idea comes from, I'm going to read something to you in a moment. Back in 2015, I wrote a blog post about a difficult time in my life when a gaming community that I was part of, back then I was a World of Warcraft player, a very addicted one to say the least. Like many people out there have been in their time, I was going through some tough times, and that community helped pull me through. And so the blog post I wrote, it still resonates with me, and that's where the idea comes from. I even called it Saved by Gaming back when I first wrote it, and it was based on an incident that happened a few years before then, but I wrote the article in 2015. So I'm going to use this episode to read it to you, and hopefully that gives you some understanding of my background and why I'm going on this journey with you, and then why we're going to explore the way in games can save so many of us. Without further ado, let me get stuck in, and I'll read to you my post, Saved by Gaming. Gaming, like any hobby, can be so much more than the sum of its parts. Sure, it looks at times like we just sit there in solitude and mash away on buttons for hours on end, but what we get from it is more than just time killing, especially in the 21st century. Years ago, I was a World of Warcraft player, and a highly active one at that. It was, and still is, an addictive game to say the least, and at its height, I was a holy priest to be revered on the realm of the Shatar. Long live the Horde! But it was around this time that my real life was suffering some major turmoils. My partner was severely ill in hospital, and the weight I bore going between work and visiting hours and back again, as I wondered how fate would play out on me, was at times more than I could bear. Anyone who's feared for the life of loved ones knows how helpless you can feel at such times and how isolated you can become. Whilst my hometown friends were obviously there for me, they have their own lives to deal with too, their own calendars to keep, and you never feel like you wanted dragging people down with you. But also, by the time I was done with the long days and dealing with everything they led to, it was often late evening, and I would just need to go home and find some respite from the world around me. And so I'd sit there at night with the dog and visit that World of Warcraft in an effort to ease my mind for a while. But it wasn't just about distraction. It was about something more than that. It was about my community, my haven, my friends in that world who I knew were there for me every night. The nature of that game and so many others is about working together and building a team of people that you can rely on when the rubbish hits the fan. And whilst that's primarily within the context of the game, it becomes more than that. Even before the problems I faced in my daily life, I'd been through so much with the guild I played with. We had raided massive dungeons, we had explored hidden worlds and discovered new treasures, and most importantly, it took teamwork. These were people from all across Europe whom I had never met, but we would come together in groups of 25, and for a few hours at a time, we would be reliant on each other's skills and strengths to overcome what sometimes felt like insurmountable odds. During all of this time, you get to know people. You talk about your lives, your cares, your worries, the usual things that keep us ticking and mean so much when building friendships. So when I felt lost and alone in my time of need, I always felt safe coming home to those people who needed and cared about me. Many of the people I played with became friends outside of the game, so they would be in contact via email, MSN, and so on. These people were connected and available in the modern world where maybe I found it hard to find someone right next door. The 21st century had given me a way to find hope with people half a world away, and in many ways that made it easier to find solace. The friendships I had built weren't based on looks or image. They were based purely on my words and actions. They were based on me. This made it easier to share words and feelings in a way that I often couldn't with someone who knew me in my daily life or was with me face to face. It left me free to express myself without fear or concern, as I might never see the person I'm talking to in the real world. It allowed me to open my heart to people that I had built a trust without fear of recompense, and it gave me a release, a pressure valve for all that I had going on in my mind. And oh, how I needed it. More than once, my keyboard felt the drop of my tears as I shattered into pieces before my screen. More than once did I crumble as I sat there with my laptop releasing my burden to my online best friend thousands of miles away in another country. And every time I did, I felt better for it. Every time I got a virtual hug and the care of someone thousands of miles away, it gave me a comfort that I'm not sure I can properly explain. But I know that it helped me. I know that without those people in my life, the struggle would have been much harder. For that, I am forever thankful. Luckily for me, my partner came through our darkest hours and we continue to fight this battle we call life, like each and every one of us. However, I know that whatever the outcome, my community would have been there for me. In that, I have faith. And whilst I no longer visit World of Warcraft, I will always treasure the time I spent there. But most importantly, the people I shared those experiences with, some of whom I still speak to this day, such as the bond that was built during that time. The games may have changed, but the people stay the same, powerful allies in my own personal world. So much so that the cherry on all of this is that years after it happened, one of my greatest confidants and friends in that world had to visit London with their real-life work. Well, when the stars align, you can't ignore them. So my partner and I made a trip down to meet her, and that virtual hug finally became a reality, which is a moment I will never forget as long as I live. A reminder that there truly is some wonderful people in this world. Truly. I was just lucky enough to find some of them, thanks to my love of gaming. As I wrote that last paragraph, my laptop has felt the drop of my tears once more. Perhaps unsurprisingly, as it makes me think on all these wonders and troubles, the emotions are surging through me. But this time there is also some joy and hope in their consistency, as I remember the good things that came from all of this. And I remember that I really was saved by gaming. So there you have it. That is the post I wrote back in 2015. That's where this concept of saved by gaming originally stemmed from in me, and how since then I've loved reading and exploring about the power of games, as mentioned at the start, whether it's connecting people, whether it's accessibility, whether it's the emotional resonance that a game can bring forth in you and help you get through difficult times. All of that is stuff that I want to explore. So every episode we're going to speak to content creators, developers, champions of accessibility, whatever it is that connects us to that theme of Saved by Gaming. And we're going to speak to different aspects of the gaming community and hopefully explore all of that together. So I hope you'll come with me on this journey. It's going to be a great one. And I hope that whatever else, you find some personal enjoyment in all of this and find your own solace in the world. All right, everyone. I'll see you next time. Take care. Be safe out there. This show was brought to you by me, ziggychris. So thanks very much for listening. You know how to do podcast things by now. So if you liked this, push the button, tell your friends, do all that jazz, and we'll see you next time. Take care.